What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, former 4-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, Mikey Garcia, who is a sure ballot Hall of Famer and one of the best Mexican fighters to do it. Mikey Garcia has called it a career now, okay? Mikey Garcia, he stated that, he feel like he's accomplished everything he can accomplish within the sport of boxing. So he's now, calling it a career, and he don't see, any reasons to stick around in the sport of boxing. There's nothing else to achieve. Okay, this is what Mikey Garcia had to state. Okay, and now what's interesting to note is Mikey Garcia, he's never been the same fighter since he fought against now undefeated, unified, 3-belt welterweight world champion superstar boxer who's widely considered to be by many to be top 2 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, in Errol the Truth Spence Jr., okay? Errol Spence Jr. is now 28 wins, no losses, no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout, 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. With that said, Mikey Garcia finished his career 40 wins, 2 losses, no draws, 30 big wins by way of knockout, 34 years of age, 5'6" with a 68-inch arm reach. The last time we saw Mikey Garcia in the ring was against Sandor Martin. That was October of 2021, and he lost a majority decision to Sandor Martin. Prior to that, he had fought in February of 2020 when he took on Jesse Vargas. He won a unanimous decision, but prior to that, March of 2019 is when he lost to Errol Spence. Now, that's the fight that people pointed to stated that Mikey Garcia was daring to be great. He wanted to fight, the best there was to offer. He had beat Errol Spence's, friends and Adrian Broner, Robert Easter. He became a 4-division champion. Mikey Garcia at the time in 2019, he was a top 5 pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. So with that said, him fighting, against Errol Spence, it was seen as a major step up, okay? And it was just that. And so Mikey Garcia, he stated he wanted to dare to be great, and he saw something in Errol Spence that he felt like he can exploit, right? He saw some things in Errol Spence. He stated that Errol Spence reminded him a lot of himself. Errol Spence, physical and fundamentally sound approach to the sport of boxing was a reminder to Mikey Garcia of himself, right? And so there was people that thought that Mikey Garcia was going to outbox Errol Spence Jr., okay? You had the legendary, iconic Hall of Fame superstar boxer in Sugar Ray Leonard, who picked Mikey Garcia to win. And his reasoning for picking Mikey Garcia was simply because Mikey Garcia is Mikey. That's how high people viewed Mikey Garcia. That's how good people thought Mikey Garcia was and how good he was, okay? Not that he wasn't. It just was a step up too far against Errol Spence. And now there's going to be a lot of people that said physically Errol Spence was too big for Mikey. But Mikey, he came out and he stated that Errol Spence was physically and mentally imposing, okay? That, Errol Spence, was always 2 steps ahead of him. It wasn't Errol Spence's size. It wasn't his physicality that beat Mikey Garcia. It was the skill set, the IQ, the boxing ability of Errol Spence Jr., okay? Everybody was used to seeing Errol Spence mold through his opponents going into that Mikey Garcia fight, and that was the reason that people picked Errol Spence to win, because he was too big, too strong, too aggressive, and skilled, right? A great big man beats a great little man, and so that's why people was picking Errol Spence by stoppage, by domination, right? But again, people were saying if it goes to the scorecards, right? If it gets to the scorecards, then Mikey Garcia is going to be the victor, okay? They felt like Mikey Garcia was the better boxer, right? And we had greats jump up multiple weight classes and challenge fighters. We had, Roberto Duran. He jumped from 135 to 147 and challenged Sugar Ray Leonard, and he beat Sugar Ray Leonard, okay? So it was done before, and that's what Mikey Garcia was attempting to do. But people will misinform you, and they'll tell you Mikey Garcia was a 135-pounder. He did the same thing as Roberto Duran. He jumped over junior welterweight, 140, and he went straight to welterweight to fight the best of the division. Well, that's not true. Mikey Garcia had 3 of his last 5 fights going into the Errol Spence fight, had fought at 140. Roberto Duran did not fight at 140. He jumped right over 140 from 135 immediately straight to Sugar Ray Leonard. That's not what Mikey Garcia did. Mikey Garcia had 3 fights and title fights at 140, okay? He didn't jump right from 135 to fight Errol Spence. Now, he had dropped back down from 140 to 35 to fight Robert Easter in a unification bout, okay? But 3 of his last 5 fights was at 140. That's not what Roberto Duran did. He didn't get acclimated to 140 and then go up 1 weight class. He jumped 2 weight classes. That's not what Mikey did. And again, it wasn't the size and the strength of Errol Spence. It was the ring IQ. It was the ability to make adjustments. So Mikey Garcia was asked, what's the biggest attribute of Errol Spence? And he said, mentally, he puts a lot of pressure on you physically and mentally because he comes forward, but he's mentally putting pressure on you because it's a chess match, right? He's playing chess. So he's not just there, you know, he's not a brute, is what Mikey Garcia was saying. He take a lot out of you, physically and mentally. It's such thing called physical and mental pressure in the sport of boxing. A guy could be putting a lot of pressure on you with, you know, pressing you, but he's not actually being physical with you. He's just cutting the ring off. He's just there all the time and forcing you to fight at a pace that you're not comfortable with fighting. And that's what Errol Spence was doing with Mikey Garcia, but he was doing it in a boxing manner, not in a physical manner. He didn't fight Mikey Garcia the same way he fought Sean Porter. He didn't fight Mikey Garcia the same way he just recently fought April 16th in a unification bout against Cuban star, former WBA welterweight world champion in Yordenis Ugas. That's not how he fought against Mikey Garcia. He fought a boxing match. He didn't even fight the same aggression that he fought Danny Garcia in. He fought a complete boxing match, right? And going into the Mikey Garcia fight, again, people was pointing to how he dominated and physically imposed himself on Lamont Peterson, Carlos Ocampo, Kell Brook. And that was the reason why people was picking Errol Spence to win. Nobody was picking Errol Spence to win because he was going to outbox, out chess match, and out IQ Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia was viewed as the better of the two in those departments, okay? And so, with that said, now, Errol Spence don't get enough credit for his ring IQ and his versatility and his skill set. Going into the biggest, most highly anticipated, undisputed showdown in the welterweight division since Sugar Ray Leonard and the legendary iconic Hall of Famer and Thomas the Hitman Hearns fought September 16th, oddly enough, of 1981. Okay, over 40 years ago was the last time we had a fight on the magnitude of Terence Crawford, who's the undefeated 3-division champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO, World Boxing Organization, welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and Terence Crawford with a record of 38 wins, no loss, no draw, 29 big wins by way of knockout, 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach, okay? That's the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. Now, Terence Crawford is viewed as, because Terence Crawford can switch from orthodox to southpaw. Terence Crawford has stopped 10 of his last 11 opponents. Terence Crawford has a high ring IQ. You know, we saw Terence Crawford outclass and outbox fundamentally sound pressure fighter with power and Victor Postal. You know, so Terence Crawford has shown versatility. He can fight, again, southpaw, orthodox, in different manners, right? And so with that said, you know, immediately, once again, people are dismissing Errol Spence's skill set and ability to box because they're highlighting Terence Crawford's ability to box, and then they're telling you that Errol Spence is not versatile. Okay, he don't have versatility. He's not, as skilled as Terence Crawford, so he's getting dismissed. In the same manner, he was getting dismissed with Mikey Garcia. Everybody was saying, well, Mikey Garcia, if it goes to the scorecards, Mikey Garcia is going to outbox him. Well, now, guess what? Mikey Garcia has never been the same fighter since he lost to Errol Spence Jr. in 2019, okay? He had a lackluster performance in a victory against Jesse Vargas in 2020, and then he had an even worse performance against Sandor Martin in 2021, and now he called it a career. He's fought twice since losing to Errol Spence, and he was the one who stated that he saw something in Errol Spence. He continued to call out Errol Spence. He continued to say that Errol Spence's fundamental game plan approach is similar to his. He was the one that felt like he could beat Errol Spence. Initially, Errol Spence was saying he thought it was a joke that Mikey Garcia kept calling him out and pressing for the fight. And it got to the point where Errol Spence said, okay, make it happen. Okay, you truly believe that you're going to beat me. Well, I guess we got to make this happen. And then Errol Spence made it happen and outboxed him. And then everybody gets upset because they're saying, well, Errol Spence, he should have knocked out Mikey Garcia. Well, that's not what it was about, period. Mikey Garcia, he stated that Errol Spence physically, mentally put a lot of pressure on him and changed his career. And he's never been the same. And the proof is in the pudding, point blank and period. So, well wishes to Mikey Garcia on his journey as a retired fighter. I personally don't think he's going to stay retired. I think he'll come back to the sport of boxing at some point in time. I still think Mikey Garcia focused can still make big fights. I would have loved to see Mikey Garcia fight against Devin Haney, Gervonta Tank Davis, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, those types of guys. Josh Taylor, I would love to see Mikey compete against those guys because I think he still can, but Mikey Garcia clearly feels like he's done enough and he's calling a career. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button, drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all in one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share the videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.